How you doing, everybody? How is everyone doing? A lot has happened in the last, I'll say 12 hours in geopolitics, global geopolitics that is. We witnessed something that we never thought was possible and had never been seen before. The leader of the free world clashing with a leader of another country in the Oval Office, in the full glare of the public and cameras. And some have said this is the first time we've seen journalists being dead silent for at least 11 minutes. Oh yeah, that was interesting. So what I'm gonna do in this episode is I'm gonna review what happened there, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts. Without further ado, let's go into it. I'm gonna review it here in a form of audio, and I'm gonna link the full link to what happened that you can watch in your own time. Cool. But what was happening here? We all know about the Russian and Ukrainian war that's been going on since 2022. Zelensky was at the White House to negotiate some minerals deal for rare earth minerals that would have been mined in Ukraine for the beneficiation of the U.S. and then also subsequently to negotiate the peace deal. And things just went out of hand. And I must say also that the context here is that the United States of America has been the country that has been spending the most in supporting the US, in supporting Ukraine. There's no country in the world that has spent more than this. They are not even close seconds. I think at some stage the US was spending more money than all of Europe combined at some stage. I'm not sure if that's the case in the last few months. But that's how important the US funding has been to the survival of Ukraine. We know that they've been using American missiles and jets and all kinds of extensive equipment that they don't have and they don't afford without the West giving. And it's been charity, folks. All of it has been charity. So that's the context of this. That the US has been the benefactor of these guys for the past 3 years since the war began. And so it's very important for me to set that up front, even though most of you, if not all, know about that. But before I play the audio of what happened, I want you to keep that in mind, that the US, American taxpayers who have no obligation to be funding anyone's war anywhere in the world, except when there is a legal binding agreement like a treaty. Like NATO, for instance, ratified by the Senate. Other than that, the US has no obligation to anyone. There is no legal obligation to them. So the US has been doing this out of the goodness of its heart for all of these years. So I'm not going to go into who started the war, because that's a topic for another day, because I think we all know that NATO provoked this war, but that's not going to go there. But even if NATO provoked this war, Ukraine wasn't going to go to war with Russia. What I'm saying, NATO wasn't going to go to war with Russia without Ukraine's permission, because this war obviously is between NATO and Russia. All Ukraine needed to do was to stay neutral between these two. And they refused to stay neutral, and then they allowed themselves to be used in this geopolitical war between NATO and Russia. And because they were so stupid to do this, now they have to bear the consequences of those stupid actions. But that's not the content and the justification of this video. That's a topic for another day, because it requires a longer analysis, a historical lesson, which I'm not going to go into right now. Right now, I'm just looking into the US does not have any obligations to Ukraine. It doesn't. So based on that, let's go into this video and look into it from that lens. That's the lens I want to look at it from. Okay, let's go. Okay, here we are.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden, of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people.
I want you to note of that, folks, where he's saying that when Russia occupied Ukraine in 2014, I'm talking about Crimea, obviously, he's saying nobody stopped Putin. Take note of that, because I'm going to comment about that.
You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 is
Well, 2014.
Yeah. So
I
he
was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly
but-
right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had
There it is again, folks. Nobody stopped him. Who? Russia and Putin.
conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president, in 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract, yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr.
are not
President.
strong.
Let's stop it there, because then JD became upset, which I'm going to go into right now. But because from what it seems to me that what he is upset about is different to what I'm having a problem with. There's a lot in what Zelensky said in this segment. That because when JD first said that what did he say? That we've tried this tough guy act of Biden or pretending to be tough but not doing shit about anything. Now it's time for diplomacy. And Zelensky, in response, he's basically saying, what do you know about diplomacy? That's basically what he's saying. Which is, by the way, is also very offensive, but let's just put that aside. And then now he's giving J.D. Vance in the White House, by the way, in the people's house, the American people's house, this story that when Putin invaded Ukraine in 2014, nobody stopped him. And then he went on and on about how nobody stopped him. Now the question for me is, whose responsibility was it to stop Putin? Because it seems to me that he's blaming the Americans, probably, and the Europeans for not stopping Russia from invading his country. And the question is, whose responsibility, for not invading Ukraine, whose responsibility was it to defend the territorial integrity of his nation. Whose responsibility was it? The responsibility, I'm afraid to break it to you, Vladimir Zelensky, belongs to the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian people. This is important for me in order for us to understand what lies deep at the problem with this guy. Is that he has misplaced expectations on a lot of issues. Not only does he have misplaced expectations, he got misplaced demands, which come to a place of culminating and climaxing with him shouting at the US President and the Vice President of the United States in the people's house. Because his expectations and demands are misplaced. He doesn't recognize who he is. He doesn't recognize what his responsibilities are. He doesn't recognize whose responsibility it is to defend your own nation. The responsibility to defend your nation belongs to you. To you. You, the president before you and the president before, and the militaries and the generals, and all the lawmakers, the people of your country. It doesn't belong to the world or the US. Even worse so, it doesn't belong to the taxpayers of the American taxpayers. That responsibility is yours. So when you say that nobody stopped him, what do you mean nobody stopped? You mean that you didn't stop him. That's what you mean. You didn't stop him. So that's the first issue that I was having here with this guy. That his entire expectation system and demands are so out of whack with reality and life. He has this thing of, you know what they call internal locus and external locus, of people who think that the things, other people are responsible for what's going on in their lives, and people who think that they're responsible for what's going on in their lives. This guy has such a warped expectation that no wonder this meeting turned out so horribly. But let's continue further.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to...
Come once.
I have actually...
Oh, hold on, nigga. Hold on. This also really pissed me off. It really pissed me off. Because I know a lot of pundits who are looking at this, they're saying, yes, this guy has lived experience. They're suffering. Millions of people have died. The cities have been destroyed. All of that, oh, woe is them, woe is they, oh, let's cry, let's mourn all together. Oh, let's feel pity for them. And now he's saying to the people who are representing the 350 million Americans who've been bankrolling the defense of his nation. He is saying to them, basically, you can't tell me anything because you have not been to my country to see my suffering. That's what he's saying. And my answer to that is that, so what? So what if he hasn't gone to see your country to see? It is you who needs his support. It's not him who needs you. Do you understand how insulting it is? Let me make an example. You meet a homeless person who needs help from you in order for them to alleviate their homelessness situation. And then you're discussing the terms in terms of how you're going to assist them. And then in making demands, they're saying to you, have you ever been homeless before? This is to say that you are being insensitive because you don't have any idea how homeless people live out there. Okay. Let's just grant the argument. What if I'm this insensitive bastard who's never been homeless before, who doesn't understand the plight of homeless people? Why is it my problem to give you my money? Why is it my responsibility? This is really where the issue is with this guy. Like time after time when he opens his mouth, he reveals more and more how entitled he is. What if JD has not gone to Ukraine? He doesn't have to go to Ukraine. He's not the president of Ukraine. He doesn't need to understand the suffering of the Ukrainian people. He needs to understand the suffering of the American people. He needs to understand the plight of the American people. His responsibility is the American people. He's so allegiance to the American flag. He's so allegiance to defending America and the American Constitution and saving the American people, not the people of Ukraine. It's not his responsibility to understand how much Ukraine is struggling. And to even insinuate that while you are coming with a basket and an empty hand to beg for money is very insulting. It's very insulting. This meeting can end right here. Right here. Right here. Because it is not his responsibility to understand your situation. He doesn't need you. That's just the reality of life. Which is why it is important whenever you go into a room as a person, this is a life lesson and a professional lesson, to understand who you are, where you are, who you are talking to, and to understand the dynamics that exist between you and the person you are speaking to.